Grant us, we ask, to speak, to hear, and to learn, so that our fears may be banished, our minds may become enlightened, our faith be increased, and our steps directed towards you. Amen. I get a thing called Touchstones, and every month they come out with a theme. And the theme for this day was mystery. How do we look at things that are mysterious? But I got caught off track, as is often the case, because I was looking at some things that we've been watching on TV lately. And these have been absolutely wow. Of course, my favorite is, drum roll, The Umbrella Academy. If you haven't seen that, you're not truly whacked. The Umbrella Academy, there's OA, which stands for the original angel. There is the Rain, which will scare the wits out of you. There is the 100, which really should be people acting badly like all the time. The Travelers. All of these are absolutely wild, incredible, like imagination. I mean, it's your imagination run wild. And I got to thinking about imagination. And I got to be thinking about what's happened to imagination in the last couple of years. All of these things that we're watching that I find really fascinating, they germinated about 3 or 4 years ago, the ideas. And I thought, and this is an original quote from me, imagination is a key and essential, having an imagination, for a healthy person, a healthy society, and a healthy religion. Letting one's imagination go wild. And I remember when I gave the last lecture at FIU, the second part of it was on imagination. And I said, how many of you remember being kids? If you can think back, I mean, some of you wasn't long ago, I mean, thinking of little kids. And I said, kids did goofy things. They thought silly things. And I watched a copy of that thing, of that lecture this week. And I remember saying to everybody, I said, did you think it was like you were little kids? You had imaginary friends. And you did goofy things. You thought things. And I said, imagination comes up with some of the silliest things you ever heard. It kind of is a mind-blowing thing. I always have marveled to this day, although this has happened decades ago, I am imagining whoever came up with the idea of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is absolutely, I mean, I have no idea how somebody came up with that. And I remember sharing within that lecture an actual thing I heard happen at Miami-Dade College. These three guys got in an argument. I don't know if any of you remember this from the lecture. Got in an argument about whether a unicorn can kill a zombie. And I'm thinking, am I listening to this right? And this one kid says, well, I think a black unicorn, they got this big fight. No, a black unicorn definitely cannot kill a zombie. They said, no, a white unicorn. They said, no, it has to be a gold unicorn. They got this huge, heated debate about unicorns and zombies. And I'm thinking, these are college kids. I'm thinking, how stupid. Then I got on the elevator and thought, wait a minute. They're letting their imaginations run wild. And usually what we've done is we've stomped that out. Somewhere in school, usually about the 5th grade, we begin to stomp out imagination. Everything has to be done this. And now, of course, with everything being about testing in school, how you take tests and everything, it's like, we don't have time for imagination. I don't know if you're aware of this. Little kids, 2, 3-year-olds ask an average of 100 questions a day. And by the time you're in 5th grade, no, we don't do that. This is the curriculum. Stick with the curriculum. Don't ask. And so it got to bother me that there's like an essential ingredient to your health and my health, to our religion and our society and everything. It's missing. It's our imaginations. And encouraging and fertilizing imagination and letting it go. There are 3 ingredients to a healthy imagination, at least in my opinion. This is an opinion today. Education, politics, and religion. These are all essential for having a fertile ground for your imagination. Just bear with me. In education, I don't know if you're aware of what's going on in education today, but it is anti-imagination. The idea is, and if you don't know what the phrase MAP is, it means my academic plan. And the idea today is, and you see this at Miami-Dade College, and I can say it because it's true. You can see it at FIU and everywhere else. The idea is you pick a major now. You take that major and you take all your courses in the major and you get out. And your map is all these courses in your major. And if you have an elective, you take an elective in your major. Now, I don't know about you. I'm showing my age because one of my students asked, how old are you really? And I said, there was dirt. And they laughed. I said, no, there was a time before dirt, pre-dirt. I said, there was a time, the idea of taking an elective, so you get as many ideas as how to look at different aspects of society, different look at things. I remember taking courses that I was interested in, not because I would ever become. I took a course in communism. Not because, with my mouth, how long would I last in a communist country? A week? A week, you'd be holding good. I wanted to understand what that was all about. I was fascinated. I wanted to know. I wanted to get knowledge about this. I took a course in Russian Orthodoxy. I remember Father Shmeiman, very famous Russian Orthodox priest in the United States, Father Alexander Shmeiman, taught the course. And afterwards he said to me, you get it. He said, you're one of the very few Westerners I've ever met who gets this. And I said, that's interesting because I'm not real. I get the whole thing, but I took the course so I get, you know what I'm saying? You take things because you're interested. You want to expand your ideas. And when you can expand your ideas, then your imagination goes. Today, that's out. There are very few electives left that are real electives. Mine that I teach, Introduction to World Religion, is probably one of the last true electives left at Miami-Dade College. And the reason it survives, it's not anybody's map, is because students talk about it. And students get the word out. In fact, I can't mention any names. There are several people high up who think this is terrific because it shows that word of mouth still counts. But the idea, when I was in college, you took all kinds of electives. So you could expand your mind. The idea of expanding your mind, you increase your imagination. So right now, educationally, by the 5th grade, they're arguing, it's out. Everything is about how to take tests, You don't have time for imagination. You have time for art. You have time for this stuff. You need a curriculum. Am I right? Any of you have kids, you know what the thing's like. Number 2, politics. The environment in which one finds oneself is essential. When you are in a healthy, free environment, your mind can run wild. But when you have a person who's now talking about pardoning war criminals, when you have somebody who thinks that, no, there will never, ever be an abortion again. By the way, just let me give a little comment about people who will say they're pro-life. I get that. But pro-life means you're also interested not just in people who get pregnant, but how are you about before they get pregnant? Pro-life means you educate people about the whole life system. How you get pregnant, how you have children, you educate what that means. It also means if you have children, do you have a system for pro-life about the lives that are just born? So you have health care, you have food care, you have WIC, you have all these things, you have pre-K, you have all these things. So you talk about life before it begins, life and life after life. The same people that are against abortion always vote against sex ed, any kind of thing that instructs you about how the reproductive system works, and they're the first ones to vote down anything after the child is born in terms of education, in terms of health care, in terms of food. What a hypocrisy. While you're shaming women all over the place, you're also shaming people who want to learn at your age about how all this goes about. George Bush came up with that famous abstinence. We'll practice abstinence. Abstinence I get. But finally, after spending millions of dollars, I don't know if you remember what happened, they actually decided to actually test and see if it worked. Yes, abstinence was successful. It made people stop for 1 more year. That means the general population that had sex at such and such an age was increased for many by 1 year. That's it. Millions of dollars that expressed only one point of view about education, and that was it. So if you're going to talk about a political system, you need to have a system where you're free. And right now, it's very, very, very clear, to me anyway, that we are in a system that if you don't agree with a person at the top, you're bullied, you're shamed in public, We've had Congress people bullied and yelled at, and I've seen behavior that I did not know was possible in my lifetime. I've seen some bad presidents, but I don't think I have ever seen anything as bad as this. That's all I'm going to say about this. But if you're not in an environment that's free, if you're not in an environment that encourages open thought without being yelled at, bullied at, lied at, and screamed at, then you're not going to have a healthy imagination. If you don't have a healthy imagination, you're not going to be healthy yourself. The society isn't going to be healthy, and your religion isn't going to be healthy. Now, talking about religion, we have two forms of religion in this country, which are both not helpful either. We have a raging fundamentalism called evangelical Protestantism, which is trying to make us, since we won't believe what they believe, is trying to legislate behavior that you and I must follow, or off to jail we go. You saw what happens if somebody is raped or has incest. No, that doesn't count. If somebody's been raped and they go for an abortion, the doctor goes to jail for up to 99 years. By the way, I find this absolutely fascinating. Let me say this very bluntly. All the people that pass this, about 99% of them are male. Older white males. I guarantee you, if you look at the personalities of these males, if any of them had been raped and had to carry a child, you better believe the laws would have been changed yesterday. So you're saying to an environment here, a religion that can't convert everybody. By the way, evangelical Protestantism is losing people right and left. The millennials, your age group and younger, are avoiding these churches like the plague. Since they can't convert, they did the same thing they're doing during the Puritan era, where, by the way, you do remember the Congregational Church was the state church of Massachusetts till the early 1800s. That comes as a shock to everybody. In the early 1800s, it was the state church in Massachusetts. If you can't convert everybody, you legislate. And you make everybody behave a certain way. I thought we got rid of it. The other thing is liberal religion. Yes, our group. We have had an avalanche of words lately. An avalanche of words. Everything I see that comes out from our own denomination, it's pages of words. We've forgotten imagination too. We forget the words. Think, be imaginative. A classic example, the UUA just came out with a thing about how clergy should behave. It is 5 pages of single-spaced. And one of my colleagues said, Kenneth, what do you think about this? I said, it is an avalanche of words and it's not going to cure anything. No matter what you do, you're going to have people who behave well and people who behave badly in every profession. I don't care how many words you use. Liberals tend to word too much. Too wordy, too much. Shut up. Stop writing. Let your mind go free. So I have some suggestions for what they're worth. When you have kids in school or you're in school and you have a chance to do some opportunities in your school or your grandkids' school, that they're doing something new, go for letting the kids do something new if they have something alternative. Akron had a school that was doing terribly and they had a problem. So they said, we want to try and do the curriculum in a different way. They had a huge library that was facing a parking lot and facing a main street. Too much noise was coming in. So they wanted the 5th graders who were doing terribly to forget the basic A, B, C, D courses. And this is what they did. They broke them up into small groups, and the small groups did, number one, they did fact-finding, what the facts were of what the problem. Number 2, they wanted to see what were some of the pitfalls that were going on with the problem that they had. They had to do some idea finding. They had to do some solution finding. They had to come up with a plan of action, and they came up with a brilliant way on their own of doing this thing of learning how to be creative, putting this stuff together with solving the problem. 5th graders. In the meantime, they had mastered all the things they were supposed to look like: a book, this book, this book. But no, they didn't do it by some creative thing. My advice to you is, if you've got a school that goes for something different, encourage it. Tell the teachers it's good. Get out of the stuff we're doing right now. It's ruining our imagination. Politics. If you find If you find you don't like what's going on, then get out and vote. The only reason, let's be honest about this, don't blame the Republicans for Trump being elected. He won the election by 144,000 votes over 3 states. Those 3 states gave him the electoral votes to win the presidency. He lost by 3 million votes in the popular votes. Who were those 144,000 people? They were Democrats or people who voted for Jill Stein. Voted for Jill Stein, nice. What was that going to do practically? You stayed home. Well, I don't like Hillary. So fine, what did you get? You got the exact opposite. We don't have the luxury, I'm sorry, of saying, well, I'm sorry, I don't like this. I'm going to sit home. Those days are over, folks. I don't want to hear any more whining from Democrats or independents. Well, you should have gotten out and voted. If you don't like the system the way it is, then you get up and you do something about it. Right now, our system is killing imagination. And it's killing our ability to be creative, and that's killing the insides of us, is an opinion. Now, I'm not blaming anybody here. I'll just say it's an opinion of mine. And finally, religion. We need to get back to having some imagination, too. I love the fact when the Oscar goes nuts in place and different kinds of things. I love when the kids get up and share. I love when we had these things here with the hands and different things we've done. We cannot encourage enough imagination. There was a thing that Jesus said, it was old saying that Jesus played with the children and taught adults. We teach children and kind of goof around with adults. We need to get our kids always here. We need to let our imaginations run wild. And so how do we do this? Some quick ideas. Start asking questions again. Lots of questions. Pretend you're before 5th grade. Ask lots of questions. Do we ask enough questions, honestly? Do we really, or do we just accept the status quo? Do we ask? It drives you nuts. It drives me nuts listening to all these questions. It's healthy. Number 2, read goofy stuff. How many of you read goofy stuff? I read some important books. I think Who We Are and How We Got Here. It's one of the most influential books I've ever read. This year I read, I was at Mama's Last Hug, the one on primates. Grandma's Last Hug. But I also read weird stuff, steampunk, Victorian thrillers, young and adult dragons and sorcerers and stuff that's absolutely crazy. One of my colleagues said to me, why aren't you reading good theology and good sociology? I said, because I need to clear my mind. And the best way for me to erase the slate is to read really goofy stuff. Maria said to me the other day, you look tired. What did you do? I said, I just read a whole book. I couldn't put it down. Something stupid with sorcerers, dragons, powerful stones, bad people, good people, all stuff broke loose, mountains caved in, dragons flew over the stuff. No, this was not Game of Thrones. It was crazy stuff. It had nothing to do with anything. I love it. Gets my imagination going. Number 3, watch. What do you see? What are you watching on TV that's silly? It's just plain, it's just out of the world that gets you out of stuff. What do you see? What just pushes you? Like you watch, if you watch, for instance, The Umbrella Academy, it's nuts. There's nothing socially redeeming about it except that it's absolutely wild. The music is nuts. There was a scene. Oh, I'll show you about how you go nuts. There was a scene there with one of the characters whose name is Claus. Literally, winds up dropped on his head on a rave floor, party floor. He winds up in this spot that's all black and white. And he sees this girl who's either Peruvian or Indian ride up on an old-fashioned bike in a white dress and a hat, like a wicker hat. It's a wicker basket of flowers. And she says to him, I almost missed you. You're really pale. Is there no sun down there? He says, down there? He said, oh, he looks around. I'm an agnostic. She said, it doesn't make any difference. He says, you got to leave. And he says, wait, you created all this? And she said, yeah, I guess so. He said, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to love everybody? And she said, who told you that rubbish? To be blunt, you rubbed me the wrong way. You got to go. This was supposed to be God. Cracked me up. I was telling my students all semester long, if you hear the word God, re-image it. If the traditional word definition doesn't work, re-image it like a kaleidoscope. So what happens? I got an image that I wasn't expecting. It knocked on my butt. Cracked me up. The idea is getting out of stuff, seeing things. This show, by the way, has some really weird music. There's these two hired assassins trying to kill each other. And what are they singing? Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. I mean, this is stupid stuff, but it's fun. Imagination. Finally, exercise. Exercise. How many people exercise? Melissa tells me she swims. Margarita runs. How many people get out and exercise? That's it. You've got to get out and do. Exercise. It's good for you. I have no choice. I've got hounds. Which brings me to number 5. Which brings me to number 5. For the imagination. If you can. You need a hound. All right, a cat. You need you need a hound. All right, a cat. They will do stuff that will blow your mind regularly and cause you to laugh and cause you to scream and yell, and they'll get mad at you, and then they'll love you, and it gets you out of yourself. I want us to go back to imagine. I want us to have a healthy life. I want us to have a healthy society. I want us to have a healthy religion. I want that deeply. I would like that in my lifetime. We can do it. I want us to return to a time when our imagination can run free. We can let that little child in us blossom again. I want that for us all. Amen. May we find within the depths of who we are a sense of the young within us that can never die, that is often hidden away. The sparkling lights within our souls that are often dimmed. That sense of being a wild spirit that is told no, no, and no. May we recover the yes, 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 the bright lights, that abundant energy in that inner child. May it move us as the way I truly believe the divine would wish us to be. So that indeed when we meet again, we can honestly mean, may the divine in me greet the divine in you. Amen. Let us continue then